2 and verse number 3. Let me share this with you so that others can hear later. Okay. So I will also pranam mantra. Said pranam mantra. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Salagaya Chakshurunmilidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stabidam Yena Bhudale Swayam Rupakada Mahim Dadati Supadantigam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yudapadagamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunadhanidam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaidam Savadudam Parijana Sahidam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padhan Sahagana Lalidham Shri Vishakhanidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dhinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarupasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Sahana Vavadu Sahanau Bhunaktum Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinamadidastu Ma Vidushavahai Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tatsat. We'll also recite the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadhyasyedo Anyaya Adidaras-chatve Sabijjaswarad Tene Brahma Hridaya Adigave Muhyandiya Suryaha Tejo Vari Mridam Yada Vinimayo Yatra tu Sargo Amrusha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirastagubhavam Satyam Param Dhimahi. Translation. O my Lord Sri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destructions of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. So, dear devotees, this is the essence of all the scriptures. This is the essence of entire Srimad Bhagavatam. And this word is always we have to carry in our heart. So we'll go to our current verse. This is chapter 2 of third canto, and verse number 3. And this section basically explains how one can completely enter into the trance and ecstasy of by remembering the Lord. So it is proving that, it is revealing that one can enter into the spiritual plane while even sitting with our material body. So we'll go to that. So this chapter is titled as Remembrance of Lord Krishna. So we know that Mahatma Vidura was met with Uddhava at the bank of Yamuna. There they had a very loving exchange between inquiring all the relatives of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna from Dwaraka and Mathura, and also incurring the Pandavas in Hastinapur, because of Mahatma Vidura left the Hastinapur for a long time, almost 12 years now. So a lot of changes happened after that. After 12 years, Mahatma Vidura was meeting with Uddhava on the banks of Yamuna. So here, Mahatma Vidura inquired about the Supreme Lord, and that's where we're starting that. Sukadeva Goswami is explaining this to Parishit Maharaj. By the inquiry of Mahatma Vidura of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Uddhava went into trance immediately with, completely entered into the transcendental plane and couldn't speak because of that anxiety, what to speak of the Supreme Lord. And in the last class, we saw that Sukadeva Goswami further explains about the characteristics of Sri Uddhava. Uddhava since childhood, and Uddhava was the cousin of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna when Lord manifested here. And since childhood, Uddhava was very much conscious of Krishna and always attracted to Krishna. And he was even playing with the dolls of Krishna. And even his mother calls for the breakfast or lunch, but he is completely immersed into the, engaging into the plays with the dolls, with the Supreme Lord Krishna. So completely absorbed into the Krishna's form, completely absorbed into the Krishna's activities. Uddhava was playing, walking like how Krishna walks. Uddhava was speaking like how Krishna speaks. Uddhava was dressing like how Krishna dressed. And Uddhava was making all this to the doll of Krishna. So we explains very detailed that one has to tune our life in such a way that always Krishna is in our center of our life, always. So this is the perfection of our life. Otherwise, we'll be completely engaged in all these mundane activities, and which is useless. It's completely useless and waste of time. Srama hi eva kevalam. Just srama. We are just endeavoring, but there is no use of it. Life is very important. The time we have in this human body is very special, very precious. Every moment we have this human form of life, every moment is very precious. We know that there was a story, there was a pastime. There was a king called Maharaj Katwanga. Maharaj Katwanga was a great king, was a great warrior. He was well famous, and nobody could defeat him in his battle. And his entire life is mainly, engaged into this Kshatriya Dharma, protecting the people and engaging in the warfare. And so time passed, and one day there was a great war between the Devas and the Asuras. And then Maharaj Indra, King Indra, requested the help of Maharaj Katwanga to help Indra to defeat the demons. So Maharaj Katwanga went there. The war went on so many years, hundreds of years. And then finally, by the help of Maharaj Katwanga, the war, Indra became victorious. And then this is the time, and Indra got pleased. And Indra asked Maharaj Katwanga, please ask me a boon, ask for a boon from me. And then Maharaj Katwanga, this is the time, long time is passed. And Maharaj Katwanga requested it to Indra that how long I am going to live in this world. I just would like to know, Indra, how long I am going to live in this world. Indra just looked at, because Indra has this power, because he is also a representative of the Lord. Indra has this power, mystic power. And then Indra could understand that there are not much time left for Maharaj Katwanga. So Indra told Maharaj Katwanga that you don't have much time left, only few moments left for you, only for few moments left for you to live in this world. Maharaj Katwanga, stunned, shocked. All this time I was just spending, all my life is just spending for all these warfares and worldly affairs. What did I do? My life is wasted. So Maharaj Katwanga immediately find a place and sat down and sipped the water, sat down and completely meditate upon the Supreme Lord, And it is mentioned that in the Srimad Bhagavatam that by this process, at the time, just before even, Maharaj Katwanga completely engaged in the process of bhakti, remembering the Lord and engaged in the worship of the Lord, Maharaj Katwanga attained the supreme abode, the Supreme Lord, and liberated himself. So, dear devotees, our purpose of life is not to waste like this for so much of worldly affairs, spending so much of time here and there, buying the stuff, going here, seeing the places, engaging and in the material pleasures, engaging in so many parties, so many things, and engaging in unnecessary, engaging our senses in so many ways. Sometimes maybe hearing, sometimes maybe watching, sometimes maybe going here and there, sometimes maybe with the friends and the parties. So we are wasting our life. Human life is very precious, very special. And one achieve this human form of life with great difficulty. In our past lives, that some sugrdi, some mercy of our forefathers, some mercy of the Lord, and some mercy of sugrdi, that we got this human form of life. And we know that once we pass this human form of life, then we never know that when we are going to get this human form of life. It's mentioned that we are all in the cycle of birth and death. It's called samsara chakra. Samsara means this material ocean. This material ocean is so vast. Sometimes we are on the upper planetary system, sometimes we are on the lower planetary system, sometimes we are under the lower species of life, sometimes we are on the higher species of life. So we are tossing in the current, in the energy of this material energy, sometimes up and down, sometimes left and right, sometimes here and there, sometimes this form and that form, sometimes in sometimes dormant, sometimes animate, sometimes inanimate. It's all as per that what we go through. That's why it's very important that our consciousness is the symptom of our life. That consciousness we have spread all across our body and gives us this intelligence, gives us this understanding, gives us this realization. All this, how we are enacting, how we are engaging ourselves in the various activities of the Lord. So we have that free choice. We have that free will. Since we have that free will, because we have the free will, we have a choice that what to do, what we need to do. So this transcendental science, in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the form of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which is none other than the Supreme Lord himself, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is Supreme Lord, Srimad Bhagavatam is Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is so merciful, and he manifested in this form of Srimad Bhagavatam, so that whoever actually in this form of human life come in contact, come in touch with this Srimad Bhagavatam can save their life. They will be relieved from the greatest danger of their life. Krishna says in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 40th verse, it's mentioned that Neha Vikramanasasti Pratyavayo na Vidyade Solpam Abhyasya Dharmasya Trayado Mahado Bhayan. One who has taken this devotional activities little bit in the path of this understanding the Supreme Lord, or some way or other engaged in the service of the Lord little bit. Pratyavayona vidyade solpam abhyasya dharmasya. This is the dharma. Dharma kaidava projida. It says that savai pumsha paru dharma yador bhakti radhokshaje. The dharma of the human, the ultimate dharma of the person, the living entity, the human being, is to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, understand our eternal constitutional position, that is called science of self-realization, understanding who are we, understanding who am I, understanding that what is my purpose, understanding why I am taking birth in this world, understanding why I'm going through so much of suffering, understanding why I'm taking birth and death, why I'm going through old age and diseases, understanding why I'm here is as a man or female, woman, understanding that why I have so much of suffering in this life, understanding that what is my body, what is my mind, what is my senses, what is my intelligence, understanding what is this material nature, understanding who is controlling, that's Ishvara, who is the controller of all this, and how this world is manifesting, how his world is disappearing or unmanifesting, how the world is created, how it is annihilating, who is controlling all this, and what is why I am here on this planet, and even what is this planet Earth, what is this sun god, what is this moon god, what is this stars, what is this nature, how it is manifested, and who is the cause of all causes, and how it is controlled. All this, dear devotees, to understand, this is the purpose of our human life, to understand, not like a dumb person. So Lord gives us the intelligence, higher intelligence, so that we can inquire this. That's why adhado brahma jigyasa. So one understand this and inquire this and come to this platform of science of self-realization, then he is saved. Solpam abhyasya dharmasya, this dharma, this understanding, this Supreme Lord goes off. When one goes through only in the human platform, one gets the human form of life, can inquire all this and come to this platform of understanding we are eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So one who engages in this path a little bit, then he can save himself from the greatest danger of not getting a death. Solpam abhyasya dharmasya trayado mahado bhayan. Trayado mahado bhayan. Bhaya means from the greatest fear. The greatest fear of death. That's the greatest fear. It is mentioned that the death is considered as the like thousands of scorpion biting at the same time. We know that even a little scorpion bite, it's a great pain. So when thousands of scorpion bite at the same time, how's that pain? The death is like that. It's so much of pain, and nobody wants to separate. Nobody wants to leave this world because he has so much attachment to this world. But eventually we have to go. One day we all have to go. We are not guaranteed. Our life is not guaranteed here in this world forever. We may be there for 100 years, maybe 90, maybe 60, who knows? And life is very short. Life is very short, and the human form of life is meant to understand, meant to realize that what is our eternal identity. And this is what it is, human form of life is meant for, dear devotees, not to waste. That's why Lord is manifesting in so many ways. Lord is manifesting in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam because of this is transcendental science. Lord is manifesting in the form of representatives of the Lord called spiritual masters or the devotee. Lord is manifesting in the form of temple as an abode. Lord is manifesting in the form of the wonderful engagement of the services. And Lord is providing everything. And only by our great fortune that one can come in contact with all this, only by the mercy of the Lord, one can come in contact with all this. Otherwise, it's not possible. Only by the mercy of the Lord. So our choice, the Lord gives us this choice, that whether to take this mundane world or mundane activities or the material activities, or we need to select the spiritual activities. So when we select, when we have this choice of selecting these mundane and material activities, then we get that forgetfulness. So now we forget about the Supreme Lord. We have that forgetfulness, and then we completely saved away into this material ocean, and we fall into this samsara chakra, then we goes through the thousands of cycles of birth and death, and especially 8.4 million species of life, one after life and one after life after life. And then we come after many, many millions or billions of lifetimes that we get this human form of life. Then once we get this human form of life, again, we have this higher consciousness, and we have that surrounded by all these wonderful spiritual activities and opportunity to understand the Supreme Lord, but we waste that. Then again, we fall down again into this material samsara chakra. Many, many billions of afterlife cycle, we get this human form of life. Then this goes on. Again, we wasted. Again, we wasted. So dear devotees, understand that what is our eternal nature, what is our eternal identity. Only by this that we can free from this samsara chakra, this cycle of birth and death, old age and disease, and all this various suffering, material suffering, and so dangerous. And sometimes we have to go to hellish planets, and depends on our activities and the karma. That hellish planets is the lower planetary systems and is ruled by Yamaraj. And there we have to go through, and we have to go and suffer as per our activities and the karma, the results of our sinful activity. And we don't know, it's maybe 36,000 years, maybe 500,000 years, maybe like 100,000 years. So there are thousands of years one has to stay there. We don't know. But this goes on like that. So we are all eternally spirit soul. But when our spirit soul is covered and contaminated by sinful activities and reactions, we have to go through this suffering again and again and again and again. So only that depends on degree of suffering. If we go to the hellish planet, the suffering is so high. And when we have the opportunity as a human, when you come on this planet, the degree of suffering is less, but still one has to suffer. But when one goes to the higher planetary system, there is also suffering, but the degree of suffering is very less. But when one goes to the eternal abode, the spiritual abode, then there is no zero suffering, zero birth, zero death, and it's eternal. Always there is no time for in the spiritual realm. The time factor only into this material realm. So, dear devotees, it's so important that we understand this fact, that how Uddhava and also why Sukadeva Goswami is revealing into the Srimad Bhagavatam, because we all can have this example. So Srimad Bhagavatam is not only for the glories of the Lord, but Srimad Bhagavatam is also the glories of the pure devotees of the Lord. So when we understand how a pure devotee, then we can also follow the footsteps of those pure devotees. So we can also understand what is devotional services, how one should engage in the transcendental activities. So here, Sukadeva Goswami is revealing the characteristics of Uddhava, how Uddhava was in his childhood, so that Uddhava was completely immersed into thoughts of Krishna in various ways. So then we goes to the third verse of this second chapter, and it goes like this. Sakadam sevaya tasya kalena jarasam gadaha prishto varadam pradibhuryat bhattu padho anusmaran. Sakadam sevaya tasya kalena jarasam gadaha prishto varadam pradibhuryat bhattu padho anusmaran. Sagadam sevaya tasya kalena jarasam gadaha prishto varadam pradibhruyat bhartru padau anusmaran. The word by word meaning of this. Sa Uddhava kadam, how sevaya, by such service, tasya, his, kalena, in course of time, jarasam, invalidity, gadaha, undergone, prishtaha, asked for, vartam, message, pradibhruyat, just to reply, bhartu, of the Lord, padav, his lotus feet, anusmaran, remembering. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The translation goes like this. Uddhava thus served the Lord continually from childhood. And in his old age, that attitude of service never slackened. As soon as he was asked about the message of the Lord, he at once remembered all about him. So, dear devotees, is so wonderful, so wonderful message to us, so purifying, how one can engage in the service of the Lord. Uddhava was from his childhood, was always in the remembrance, the service of the Lord. And now, when Mahatma Vidura inquired about the Supreme Lord, it's all on a sudden. It's like a volcano. It's all on a thrust upon the heart of the Uddhava. It came upon, it's filled with that beautiful, transcendental remembrance, and Uddhava couldn't speak. So the purport, translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So purport, transcendental service to the Lord is not mundane. So dear devotees, always remember this. There is a gulf of the difference, distinction between our activities in this material world. Is one who engages in the service of the Lord. This is not a material activity. This is a completely spiritual activity. So always remember, we all have to do something in this world. We have to live in this world. But when we have all our activities in relationship with the Supreme Lord, that all activity is not mundane, it's all spiritual activity. So, and this is our art of living. This is the way we have to live. Krishna should be in center of our life. When Krishna is in the center of our life, dear devotees, that's the real life. That's the original life. That is eternal life. So this is our opportunity, even in this material world. It's very rare. It's very rare to have the spiritual life in this material world. Think about that. There are 7.7 or 5 billion people in this world. Out of 7.5 billion of the people of this world, how many people are understanding this transcendental truth or transcendental nature of the living entity? Very rarely. And out of that, one who knows this transcendental nature, how one who really worships the Supreme Lord, or how one who knows the Supreme Lord in truth. And Krishna himself says this, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yadadi siddhaye yadadi abhisiddhanam kaschid mam edi tattvadaha. Out of many millions, Krishna says to Arjuna, hardly one knows me. And out of one who knows many millions, and hardly one knows me in truth. So this is what the Krishna is revealing in Bhagavatam. Dear devotees, if you have an opportunity to understand and realize the Supreme Lord, that's a great blessings from the Lord. That's our great fortune, because of somehow or other, we had some good pious activities, pious credit, and by the mercy of the Lords and devotees, so we have this opportunity to understand this transcendental truth, the absolute truth, and the opportunity to understand the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So any activity, any transcendental activities which we do, and what are those transcendental activities? And transcendental activities, dear devotees, and every activity which we are doing in relationship with Krishna, that will automatically become transcendental. Otherwise, it will become mundane. If the activity which we perform in this world is not in relationship with Krishna, this is material or mundane, because of this is all happening as per our own selfish interest, as per our own selfish desire. We are in the center, not the Supreme Lord. Everything manifests from Him. Everything created by the Supreme Lord. Everything is come from the Supreme Lord. Everything is controlled by the Supreme Lord. And even one of us, even us, is actually part of the Supreme Lord. Even our body, mind, even a grass. Nobody can even create a little grass. Then what to speak of that? But the thinking of a human is on the other side, opposite. He say, this is because of me that everything is happening. Because of me that, I am getting this life. Because of me that I am working, I am getting money. Because of me, my capacity, my strength, I have everything. Because of my position, I have this big name. Because of my family name, that I have beautiful home or family or the clan or the dynasty or kingdom or whatever. So this is the nature of the human. And the human wants to load it over this material nature. When the human wants to load it over material nature, this comes from his ahangar, and he comes from his false ego, because of his completely ignorance of the transcendental nature, or who is the controller, who is actually the cause of all the causes. Because of he wanted to have a life his own. He wanted to be so selfish. So when he is in so selfish, he does all illegal activities. He does all the sinful activities, and he gets reaction of those sinful activities, and he suffers. But Lord is so merciful. When Lord sees all this, Lord is so merciful, and Lord gives this transcendental knowledge in the form of Veda, in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the form of Bhagavad Gita, so that we can take advantage of understanding our constitutional position. Instead of putting ourselves in the center of everything, we put Krishna is in the center of everything, so that all our activities become transcendental. So when we do go for job, and we bring the money, we bring the groceries and materials to cook for the, to cook. And we think that, oh, I can so much enjoy everything because of this is my earning, so that I can enjoy. That is mundane. That is material activities. But at the same time, we understand this is not mine because of I'm just a part, I'm just an instrument, but the mercy of the Lord that I have all this in my life. If I have a wife, that's the mercy of a Lord. If I have a husband, that's the mercy of the Lord. If I have a children, that's the mercy of the Lord. So instead of exploiting, if I have a wife, instead of exploiting, consider that this is also a gift, a mercy of the Lord. I should always remember that, and I should help in such a way that the wife is pleased. When there is a husband, understand that this is the mercy of the Lord that I have in this life, so that I can share my life, and I can, some way or other, I can lead my life happily. So instead of exploiting, taking advantage of, the wife always serves the husband and always share and respect the husband. And when we have a children, we think that, yes, instead of, oh, this is because of me that it's all come. No, the children are the gifts of the Lord. If there are children, it's the mercy of the Lord. Instead of exploiting them, bring them into the Krishna, and bring them into the Krishna's, in the path of Krishna. Teach them who is God and who are you. Teach them that you are all in this birth, come into birth from the mercy of the Lord, this human. So they bring him into the Krishna. This is what is called the transcendental activities. Otherwise, when we have the children, okay, go and take the alcohol, go and do this, go on all these mundane things. I am also doing it. The life is meant to enjoy. Life is given to us to enjoy this life, so that left and right, like cats and dogs, I will go and enjoy in this world, and then bring all the sufferings to the humanity, and all this distress to the family and the humanity. And where this understanding, or what is the purpose, where is the understanding or consciousness of the purpose of the human being? Completely lost in this world. So that's, for such people, the world is created. And then they suffer. That's why this world is called Martyalok. This world is called Martya. Martya means mrityu, means people are dying here. People are suffering here. Death means suffering. People are suffering here. That's called, this world is known as Martyalok. Mrityu is there for the people. So that's a transit. So everything that in devoid of Krishna, devoid of the consciousness of Krishna, that's become mundane. But when we have Krishna is in the center of our life, all in our activities, we remember should be grateful. And always it says that we should be always have the attitude of the gratefulness. Then we have the attitude of gratefulness, then we should goes to the altitude. We goes to the higher planet. He goes to the higher, constitutional platform. That we should have attitude of gratitude. It takes to the altitude. So we should always have this attitude of gratitude to the Supreme Lord, to take us to the altitude, to the eternal abode. So it's very important that. So transcendental service to the Lord is not mundane. So dear devotees, it is eternal. So we have that Lord, by the mercy of the Lord gave that mercy. Whoever engages in the service of the Lord, while we are living on this platform, while we are living on this human body, if Krishna is in the center, all our activities become transcendental, and we become transcendental. We attain the supreme abode and free from this material samsara chakra. cycle of repeated birth and death. So, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, one should develop the service attitude of the devotee, and so the service attitude of the devotee gradually increases and never becomes slackened. So this is another. So we know that in the mundane world, we do so many things, and some point of time we get bored. And we heard this word many times from the people, I am bored. Why, if you are getting all this happiness from these mundane material activities, why are you again and getting bored? So they go for another one. Okay, let me go to play this one. Let me go to the party. Let me go to the liquor shop. Let me go to enjoy my senses. Let me go to do something. Let me eat. Let me go to this restaurant, that restaurant. All this life goes from one to another like monkeys jumping from one branch to another. This is the nature of our mind, which is called as Chapala Sukha, flickering happiness, Chanchala. So all this Chanchala or Chapala, this Sukha that what we are trying to do is a little bit flickering, and then what happens stays there for some few moments. Then again we are looking for more happiness, more and more happiness and pleasure. Nobody is satisfied with this material happiness and pleasure. But when we develop this service attitude and which derives that transcendental bliss, and the moment we engage in the service attitude, otherwise, what is the great deal of that? The devotees get up early in the morning and chant. They derive great pleasure, a great transcendental bliss, and they do continuously, and they do engage in the service of the Lord again and again. In all the time, their devotee, somebody is so much in distress or disappointment. But the moment, and I was hearing this one from Mahatma Gandhi, he wrote that when he was in distress, sometimes, a lot of this political affairs, he was going through like a hell in his mind. Even though he was Mahatma, he didn't even have a peaceful mind. And he was always going through. When he says that whenever I am in such condition, when I open Bhagavad Gita, read the words, understand that all this distress condition from my mind will go away, will wipe out. Why? Because it has such a potency. That's only the potency, that spiritual potency can eliminate this all material inferior energy or this Maya. So this is all Maya's web. We are all entangled in this Maya's web. So only by the spiritual potency can come out, we can come out from this Maya's energy or inferior energy, then we get to the superior energy, that is Krishna's energy, that is superior internal potency of the Lord. That's a superior potency. So whenever we come to that higher platform, then only we can subside our lower nature or lower qualities, or this lower qualities always in distressful, never gives us happiness. Only by, so this is what it is Srimad Bhagavatam revealing, that we should always engage in the service of the Lord. That means we are always engaged in contact, in relationship with the Supreme, or we are in contact with the superior energy of the Lord. That is called, then we are with the association of the Lord while we are even living into this mundane form of human life, right? So when one engages in service of the Lord, then that increases. Ananda Ambudivardhanam, it is mentioned that Ananda Ambudivardhanam, it ever increases. And one gets into the transcendental plane. So it says that, but in the transcendental service of the Lord, there is no retirement. In the mundane, we sometimes work and work and work. So he's tired. And you say, okay, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. But this is not the case on the transcendental. One who chants the holy name, they won't stop chanting because they have that transcendental bliss. And once they engage in the service of the Lord, they never stop because they have transcendental bliss. They never say that I want to retire from, because of that eternal service. So transcendental service of the Lord, there is no retirement at all. On the contrary, the service attitude increases more and more with the progress of age. In the transcendental service, there is no satisfaction. So we know that in the Srila Prabhupada became old, and he was at 79 years old when Srila Prabhupada traveled on the voyage. And it is just through the 2 months of the ship, as a cargo ship. And then Srila Prabhupada came to this country at the age of 79. And then we can see that, Srila Prabhupada was completely engaged, 24 hours, engaged in the service of the Lord and deriving such a great pleasure. And I was reading this one actually, Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj went to Russia to spread the Krishna consciousness. And Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was traveling in a train. no facilities, nothing. But in order to spread, in order to distribute this transcendental knowledge to others, it was such a difficulty. Christian government was restricted all religious activities. Nobody can do anything in the public. But Bhaktivedanta Maharaj was traveling, commuting from one end to another in the train itself. But even in the train itself, Bhaktivedanta Maharaj was chanting in the toilet and engaging in the service of the Lord. Even in the toilet, it was done because of it derived such a great pleasure. So this is what it is. It is revealed that the transcendental truth, that one who engages in the service of the Lord, it ever increases this transcendental bliss, and they never would like to go back or retire from it. And this is also the mercy of the Lord, that one who engages, and even one who is able to engage in the service of the Lord, it is nothing but the mercy of the Lord. So anything in relation to the Lord, it is always is Ananda Ambudhi Vardhanam, ever increases that transcendental bliss. So it is mentioned that in the transcendental service, there is no satiation, and therefore there is no retirement. Materially, when a man becomes tired by the rendering service in his physical body, he is allowed retirement. But in the transcendental service, there is no feeling of fatigue because it is spiritual service and it is not on the bodily plane. So, dear devotees, always remember this. Transcendental activities are not on the mundane or not on the bodily plane. Service on the bodily plane dwindles as the body grows older, but the spirit is never old. And therefore, on the spiritual plane, the service is never tiresome. Uddhava undoubtedly became old. That does not mean that his spirit became old. His service attitude matured on the transcendental plane. And therefore, as soon as he was questioned by Vidura about Lord Krishna, he at once remembered his Lord by reference to the context and forgot himself on the physical plane. That is the sign of pure devotional service to the Lord. And as will be explained later in the Lakshanam, Bhakti Yogasya, etc., in the Lord Kapila's instruction to his mother, Devakudi. The devotees is a great, great transcendental science, that how one can enter into the spiritual plane. And the moment is only by practice. That's called sadhana. Practice makes things perfect. Unless and until we engage in the transcendental loving devotional service under the Supreme Lord, we cannot enter into that transcendental spiritual plane. So this is our duty of the Lord. This is our duty. This is our eternal duty, that we engage, we practice this bhakti while we have this human form of life. Then we can, while we are engaging, so that this transcendental activities, transcendental service are not mundane. So whenever we do this transcendental service to the Lord, transcendental service, we engage in the service of the Lord, it is completely transcendental and it's not mundane, so that we completely, when we practice this, we eventually get into that, our transcendental plane. So we have this opportunity. So this is what it is revealing, this transcendental truth by this verse. So let me stop here with this note. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining. And it's so nice to be here on the morning and listen this and understanding this transcendental science, so that we all can attain this transcendental plane while we are on this platform. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Haribol, anything? Anybody would like to add anything? Any comments, questions, concerns? Hare Krishna.
No, Prabhuji. I don't have any questions.
Yeah, sound clear? So Sunil Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Satyam Badaji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you. In a very nice class as usual. Every day hearing from you, it's really transforming our mind, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your association. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much being there, Mataji. So wonderful, so nice devotees, wonderful. Always in the service of the Lord. That association itself is so wonderful. So alive.
Haribol.
Haribol. So if there is nothing else, if anybody has any questions or anything, Sunil Prabhu, you would like to add anything?
It's Hare Krishna Prabhuji. It's Shalu this side.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. It was a very enlightening, in the morning when you hear about Bhagavad Gita. It's like your day goes so well, So I always look forward for this class.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Jai.
Thank you so much for joining, Mataji. Hope everything is going well with you.
So far, so good, Prabhuji.
Very
It's
nice.
Krishna.
Very wonderful. Okay, so then if nothing else, let's conclude today's session. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining. Let's pay our obeisance to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vancha kalpatarupasya kripa sindhubhyevacha patidanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavrunda ki jai. Gandhiraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavrunda ki jai. Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hari
Thank
Bol.
you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.